What's good? As you can see in the title for today's video, I will be reacting to an NFL mock draft on a random NFL.com or PFF website. So, I'm gonna pick somebody, I'm gonna lock in with somebody, man. We're going to review their first round mock draft and really go over and see, if it's accurate, what's my takes on it and stuff like that, because we all know the NFL draft is just a few weeks away. I'm very excited, man. So let's really hop into this video. And also, before we begin, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications. I will be doing more NFL style videos like this, talking NFL draft, player prospects. Also comment who you would like for me to talk about as well. Any video inspirations or ideas you might have for me, please let me know in the comment section down below. But please, thank you for tapping in with me, man. But let's go ahead and get started. All right, so as you guys can see, I chose a mock draft off the NFL.com website. And I did the most recent one that was published by Lance Zierlein. I like to use NFL.com because, they are pretty accurate when it comes to a lot of these things. Daniel Jeremiah is a really, really good draft analyst. You got Bucky Brooks and stuff like that. But, Lance Zierlein, he dropped this mock draft 3.0 on April 4th. Today is April 7th of this recording. So, this is pretty fresh and, it shouldn't be too off the rails. So let's begin with the first overall pick. So it's already kind of coming off the whip, kind of strange already. He has the Carolina Panthers selecting Bryce Young, quarterback out of Alabama. Now, there's a lot of smoke around CJ Stroud being that first overall pick. A lot of people feel as if he will be. So, and I've also checked in on Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft to see how, this one, equals out. Daniel Jeremiah did his back in late March. So, this is pretty interesting because a lot of mock drafts are starting to be filtered in that, Bryce Young will be the first overall pick. And that's kind of surprising because after Stroud's pro day, it seemed as if the Carolina Panthers and their coaching staff, Frank Wright, Josh McCown, the quarterback's coach, were really locked in on Stroud. It's also pretty interesting as well that, Frank Wright wants Stroud, but Scott Federer, the general manager for the Carolina Panthers, wants Bryce Young. So that's something to keep in mind. Moving on to the Houston Texans, they don't go quarterback. They go Tyree Wilson, edge rusher out of Texas Tech. And I spoke highly on Tyree before. I think he's a specimen. He's a freak of nature. He is sort of like how Trayvon Walker was coming into last year's draft, but he has the production to back up his abilities, right? And I do believe he should be a top 5 pick, top 10 as well. But going number 2 is pretty interesting as well because I think Houston Texans, I know DeMeco Ryans is a defensive-minded head coach, but he needs to go quarterback with his pick, and Stroud is right there. So this lets me know that they might be leaning towards, building around Davis Mills some more. But this mock draft will continue. We'll see what happens next. All right, Arizona Cardinals. Simple as that. Jonathan Gannon, he's a defensive-minded head coach as well. We all know this team needs defensive help, right? They're trying to get rid of D-Hop to get more draft picks. It doesn't look like that will happen. They don't have a quarterback right now. Kyler Murray is injured. This will be a rebuild year, and I think Will Anderson Jr., edge rusher out of Alabama, will be a great tool to really just jumpstart this rebuild, right? There's also a possibility they could trade down with, the Indianapolis Colts or, a team that is quarterback hungry that's looking to draft one of these, top quarterbacks. So in this mock draft, though, Lance has Arizona choosing Will Anderson Jr., and I think that's a very good pickup for them. Moving on to Baltimore. So ironically enough, talking about trades, we see the Baltimore Ravens trade up and select CJ Stroud, quarterback out of Ohio State. So this lets me know that, according to Lance, and I've been speaking on this as well, Lance believes that the Indianapolis Colts will trade for Lamar Jackson and accommodate the 4th overall pick and possibly some more draft compensation. I've always said that if the Colts were to trade for Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens in return will receive a Deshaun Watson type package deal, which shouldn't be surprising because I think Lamar Jackson at this point in his career is better than what Deshaun Watson was, at that point when he was shipped away to the Cleveland Browns. So I'm not mad at this, right? I do believe Jim Irsay wants to draft a quarterback, but we all know his history. He is known for, going out there and getting his guy, from another team. Matt Ryan, Jacoby Brissett, Carson Wentz. He's done he has a history of this, so it wouldn't be surprising if he does it again. But for someone younger, and that's a top 5 quarterback in his league when healthy. All right, Seattle Seahawks, and also I do believe CJ Stroud, to speak on him specifically, he fits what Todd Monken wants to do offensively. Todd Monken is the pass it around type of quarterback, a type of head offensive coordinator, and I don't think Lamar Jackson will bode well for that type of offense they're potentially running this season. All right, moving on to the Seattle Seahawks. With the 5th overall pick, they do choose, according to Lance, Jalen Carter, defensive tackle out of Georgia. Now, I like this pick as well. I do believe, due to his off-the-field issues and his comments about his draft process, Jalen Carter will fall in this year's draft, right? We've seen guys like Laremy Tunsil fall in the past, which he shouldn't have, right? Because of, the whole weed gas mask thing, right? We've seen plenty of prospects, fall in the draft, but, I think Jalen Carter is just pretty much understandably, right? He had that issue with law enforcement with Georgia Bulldogs, after the whole championship parade, which, not saying he's the reason why his teammate died, but he was involved in the situation of what happened, right? He went to he went to jail, had to get booked out, right? Paid his bail, showed up to the combine, didn't participate. I think he interviewed, if anything, I think he interviewed, probably didn't even do that. Got to his pro day. He showed up overweight and he didn't look good whatsoever. So, something to keep in mind. But however, I do believe he is the best player in this year's draft class. So, if you can put it all together, I'm not mad at John Schneider being aggressive and going after someone like Jalen Carter. The Detroit Lions, they're on the clock up next. Devon Witherspoon out of Illinois, cornerback. I think he is the most complete cornerback in this year's draft, and I love his physicality. I love his game. He's also the best off-ball corner in this year's draft as well. They already have guys like Cameron Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley out there in Detroit, but bringing in someone like Devon Witherspoon to complement that secondary will be an A+ draft selection by Dan Campbell. All right, so number 7th overall pick, the Houston Texans, according to Lance, choose Will Levis, Kentucky quarterback. And I just spoke about how Davis Mills could possibly be, built around, but it seems as if in this mock draft, they still go quarterback and they choose a project guy, right? I don't think he's ready to start day one, but he has the live arm talent. We all hear the comparisons of, he's the next Josh Allen. In my opinion, as crazy as it sounds, he really reminds me of Blake Bortles with better mechanics. I think Blake Bortles and Will Levis have very good collegiate careers. Blake Bortles, of course, came from UFC. Or UCF, my bad. Came from UCF. And, he was a gunslinger type quarterback during his time in college. Same thing with Will Levis. Will Levis pretty much had a down junior year. He dealt with injuries. He dealt with the lack of talent around him. But still, I think Will Levis does have potential to be something special in this league, but it's going to take time. And, if DeMeco Ryans believes that he can develop Will Levis, then, so be it. But if they can go Tyree Wilson and Will Levis, that's not a bad haul in my opinion. I just rather them go CJ Stroud with that 2nd overall pick, or Bryce Young, whoever falls to them at 2, and then bounce back and draft the edge rusher like, Lucas Van Ness, Miles Murphy, or even better, someone like, Jackson Smith and Jigba to be the wide receiver 1, or, Quentin Johnson or someone like that. So, something to keep in mind. All right, moving on to pick number 8, the Atlanta Falcons select cornerback Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. Now, I'm not really a big fan of this. The secondary is better, right? I think they need to address the edge rusher position. They need to go for someone like Lucas Van Ness, Miles Murphy, should even probably Brian Brisset to help complement someone like Grady Jarrett. But they need edge rushers badly out there in ATL, man. I think if not, they're probably one of, if not the worst pass rushing defense the last 2 seasons. They suck at getting after the quarterback. I'm not really sure if they made any significant moves to really uplift that edge rusher position defensively, but them going corner right here, I'm not mad at it, but there's other needs that they can address, because the cornerback class, in my opinion, is kind of deep this year, right? You got guys like, Joey Porter Jr. that could fall to the 2nd round, Keely Ringo that could fall to the 2nd round. So, I'm not mad at them going Gonzalez, but they don't need him, right? I mean, that's just my opinion. Moving on to pick number 8, Lance believes that Lucas Van Ness will be selected by the Chicago Bears with the 9th overall pick. Now, as we all know, the Chicago Bears had a huge draft haul. They end up swapping picks with the Carolina Panthers, and plus got some more draft compensation. Them going with edge rusher Lucas Van Ness is not bad in my opinion either. I think they should go offensive tackle to help be a bookend franchise left tackle to go alongside someone like Braxton Jones, who really emerged as a guy for them last year, right? Tevin Jenkins, that experiment has not worked out. He was in the same draft class as Justin Fields. So they should go Peter Skoronski, Paris Johnson Jr., Broderick Jones, even Antoine Jones. I think they should either go, a tackle at that position, but I'm not mad at them going Lucas Van Ness, because just like the Atlanta Falcons, they need pass rushers as well. And speaking of Peter Skoronski, the Philadelphia Eagles at pick number 10, according to Lance, get Peter out of Northwestern. And I think he is the most versatile tackle in this in this draft, right? I think he might be the best tackle in this draft as well. He can play left tackle, he can play right, he can play guard, he might even be able to play center, right? He's very versatile for his ability and size, man. And you know, I think he will be a top 10 pick when it's all said and done. And the Philadelphia Eagles selecting him over rumored picks like, you know, Bijan Robinson, or, you know, them going anywhere else is not bad in my opinion. Now, it wouldn't be surprising if they choose someone like Brian Branch with this pick, right? Because of course they lost their safety play with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Mike Epps, so they can definitely go out there and grab someone like Brian Branch with this pick. But, you know, we'll see. I'm not mad at them going Peter Skoronski, though, I will say. Moving on to pick 11, the Tennessee Titans did select, according to Lance, Jackson Smith-Njigba, wide receiver out of Ohio State. And as you can see in this mock draft, he is the first wide receiver off the board. Now, I love Jackson Smith-Njigba's game. He is my wide receiver 1 in this year's draft class. He's not crazy fast, but he is a doctor. He has a PhD in route running. And I think when it comes to route running in this league, that's like the biggest separation of if you're going to last long in this league, right? You look at someone like Cooper Kupp, who's not fast, but he's quick and he's a very elite route runner, right? And like someone like Devontae Adams didn't come in with blazing speed, but he got faster. But the biggest thing about him was he was an exceptional route runner, right? You know, someone like Justin Jefferson, you know, guys like that, man. I'm not really worried about speed when it comes to the wide receiver position. I think that would be an amazing pickup for the Titans, who already have someone like Traylon Burks, who they drafted last year in the first round, to help, you know, assist someone like Ryan Tannehill or Malik Willis, whoever's starting quarterback next year for the Titans. I think Jackson Smith-Njigba will be an amazing pickup for them. Now, moving on to the 12th overall pick, the Las Vegas Raiders, of course, traded down because in the few pit selections before, Will Levis was picked with the 7th overall selection. So the Raiders are now on the clock. According to Lance, they go tackle Darnell Wright out of Tennessee. Now, I do believe he's a tackle that's not being talked about enough in my opinion. He's very impressive, right? I think he's going to be a very good left or right tackle on the next level. He has impressive size, big hands, good strength, and he tested pretty well at the NFL Combine to go along with all of that. And he also played for a very high-powered offense with the Tennessee Volunteers, right? Hendon Hooker, Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman, you know, they were all part of that offense, and Darnell Wright was the blindside protector for someone like Hendon Hooker. So I'm not mad at him going to the Las Vegas Raiders and being that left tackle or right tackle for someone to protect Jimmy Garoppolo. So moving on to pick 13, the New York Jets are now on the clock, and they go Broderick Johnson, Georgia offensive tackle. And according to this, you know, Lance speaks about how if the Jets and Packers finally agree to Aaron Rodgers, protecting the quarterback will be crucial and offer insurance on the left side. Now, in my opinion, I love the possibilities of what Mekhi Becton can bring to this roster for the Jets this year. And also, I think Elijah Vera-Tucker is going to be an amazing tackle in this league. So if you bring in someone like Broderick Jones, that means you're either going to play him at right or left guard. Now, I know Laken Tomlinson plugs up one of those guard positions. So if you can put him at, you know, the opposite side of Laken, I think that'd be an amazing position for him to play. Now, if Mekhi doesn't work out, if he ends up being injured again, then you can seamlessly insert someone like Broderick Jones to help protect, you know, Aaron Rodgers' blind side. But I think Broderick Jones is a very exceptional tackle, man. He has some very good moments with the Georgia Bulldogs. All right, moving on to pick 14. Florida quarterback Anthony Richardson is chosen by New England Patriots, and I think that's not going to be a good spot for AR, in my opinion. I know there's been a lot of tension and rumors that Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots will be shopping or trying to shop Mac Jones, but I'm not really in favor of them going Anthony Richardson right here. I think they should go for a quarterback like Will Levis. I think that he fits more of their mold. I think AR is a project. He needs to sit for a year or two, and, you know, I've never seen Bill Belichick have a type quarterback like AR. He had someone like Cam Newton on the tail end of Cam Newton's career, but, you know, even then it was ugly to watch. It was very hard to watch, right? Of course, Bill O'Brien's a more innovative OC, but, you know, I'd rather them to stick with Mac Jones and try to work it out, or even try someone like Bailey Zappi, right? So, you know, I'm not really in favor of this pick. I think this would be bad for both parties. All right, moving on to pick 15, the Green Bay Packers are on the clock, and they choose Dalton Kincaid, tight end out of Utah. Now, I think this is an amazing pickup for the Green Bay Packers. Matt LaFleur, he needs to bring in some more weapons to help out his young quarterback, Jordan Love, who will be starting this year. You already have Christian Watson. You have Romeo Doubs. Get a tight end in here, man. Robert Tonyan is gone. So I think, someone like Kincaid can really just, bring the best out of Love, right? There's never nothing wrong with having a security blanket for your quarterback. Now, the biggest thing with Kincaid, he's a versatile tight end. I wouldn't say he's tight end 1, but he's a very good tight end in this draft class. He's probably tight end 2 in my opinion. He has some inexperience at that position still. He's very young at it. He didn't play tight end until his senior year in high school. He was a big bodied receiver during his freshman and sophomore year. He ended up going to San Diego, transferred to Utah, but he blew up, right? He is a fantastic route runner. He has great after catch ability, and he has great hands as well. So I wouldn't be mad if Dalton Kincaid is selected by the Packers, because I think Matt LaFleur can definitely get the best out of him. All right, moving on to pick 16 and 17 to speed us up a little bit. The Commanders go Paris Johnson Jr. I love this pickup for them. Pretty cut and dry, right? Eric Bieniemy, he can really come in and get himself a tackle to help protect Jacoby Brissett or Sam Howell. And they already signed someone like Andrew Wiley in free agency. You have Paris playing the left side. You'll have Wiley playing the right. Simple as that. The Pittsburgh Steelers are next up on the clock at pick 17, and they choose Deonte Banks out of Maryland. And I love this pickup for them because this fits the Pittsburgh Steelers. They love a physical corner that is good in man-to-man coverage, and also a physical corner that can come up and just hit you and in the mouth, essentially, right? They've had physical corners like Mike Hilton, Joe Hayden, and Banks. He fits that steel curtain mold, right? I think he will be an exceptional piece in this secondary to go alongside with someone like Patrick Peterson, who he can learn from a very established elite vet who's probably a future Hall of Famer. You got Minkah Fitzpatrick in that secondary as well. You also have someone like Witherspoon and a few other guys like Pierre that can just be some good, depth pieces as well. But they need a cornerback 2 or even a quarterback 1 that can possibly, Banks blossom into. And I'm not mad at them choosing cornerback and drafting Banks with this selection. Moving on to pick 18, 19, and 20, the Detroit Lions select Michael Mayer, tight end out of Notre Dame. Ben Johnson, you were an exceptional OC last year. You really took the lead by storm. You had the Detroit Lions having a top 5, top 10 offense last year. You did trade away TJ Hawkinson, but bringing in Michael Mayer, who's going to be essentially the same thing as TJ was for them last year, is beautiful. I think Michael Mayer is tight end 1 in this year's draft. He doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion, because we've been talking about Michael since his freshman year at Notre Dame, right? He's been called Baby Gronk since then. So someone like Michael Mayer, he's going to be able to line up as your wide tight end, your inline tight end. He does exceptional things at that position, right? He's strong, he's fast. Wait, 3, 2, 1. He's strong. He has good enough speed to really just be a mismatch to safeties and linebackers on the defensive side. I love his ability, man. He's going to be a day 1 contributor instantly wherever he goes. All right, moving on to pick 19. The Buccaneers are now on the clock, and they choose Nolan Smith, edge rusher out of Georgia. Now, the Buccaneers, they need an edge rusher. Shaquille Barrett is going through some injuries. The guy they drafted a few years ago, his name slipped my mind, number 9. I think he came out of Houston. He hasn't really panned out like that. He's still young, though, right? So he can definitely emerge into something special. But we'll see. Them going Nolan Smith doesn't really move me, though, because Nolan Smith is not really projected to be anything special, in my opinion, either. He's a football guy. He's going to be a great leader. He's going to be a good alpha in the locker room, but his production doesn't really say anything about his game, in my opinion, man. It's not enough true indicator on what you're getting on him. He's a freak athlete. He's been an athlete since his days at IMG. He tested really well at the combine, ran an exceptional 40. He's strong and all that and more. Just like Trayvon Walker was for the combine offseason as well. But Nolan Smith, he's a project. And I think at 19, if you draft him there, you're more likely to get a rotational edge rusher that can get a good amount of sacks here and there. But he's not worth the first round pick, in my opinion. Pick 20, you have the Seattle Seahawks back on the clock choosing Myles Murphy. They went Jalen Carter with that first round pick. So now they're going Myles Murphy with their second first round pick. And I love this pick because, Noah Sues, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but for the Seattle Seahawks, it's on an expiring deal. You bring in someone like Myles Murphy, who's good at stopping the run and also good at getting after the passer. I think this would be a good pickup for Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks. So I'm not mad at this whatsoever. All right, pick 21, 22, and 23. Jalen Hyatt to the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm not mad at that whatsoever. I mean, to be honest, this is a great fit. Kellen Moore loves to throw the football around the field. This will be the best deep threat option, most explosive option that Justin Herbert's ever had in his young NFL career. I know you got someone like Guyton, right? He takes the top off the defense as well, but, he always has those guys that are exceptional route runners or 50-50 guys like, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. You put someone like Jalen Hyatt in that offense, man, talk about, some of the longest touchdowns of the year, it might be held by the LA Chargers and Justin Herbert's ability to really just get the ball down the field with his strong arm. So if they can go higher with this pick, this would be an exceptional pick for Kellen Moore and his newly acclimated offense. Pick 22, the Baltimore Ravens are on the clock. And this draft for them really reminds me of the year they selected Lamar Jackson in 2018. They go receiver, then quarterback. As you can see, they traded with the Indianapolis Colts to get Stroud. They draft him, and they're picking up someone like Jay Flowers, who in 2018 they went Hollywood Brown and Lamar Jackson. I like this pickup for them as well. It's pretty sad that, it seems as if they will be willing to build more around whatever quarterback they draft next. But, better late than never, I guess, right? But Zay Flowers, 5'9", about 190, has world-class speed, in my opinion. He can really, he has the burners. He can turn them on anytime, man. He's elusive. He really reminds me of someone like Jalen Waddle. Just a tad bit slower, but he's still fast enough, right? I mean, he has good size. He's shifty. He has a lot elite quickness. I love his game a lot, man. He was a really great receiver for BC. All right, 23, Bijan Robinson. The Minnesota Vikings, they trade down with the Buffalo Bills. And the Bills select Bijan Robinson, running back out of Texas. Now the Buffalo Bills already have 3 capable running backs, in my opinion, and Damian Harris, James Cook, Nyheim Hines. But let's be honest, Bijan Robinson is better than all 3 of those backs. This does relieve the pressure off Josh Allen. You need someone like Bijan to step into this rotation and really just be a guy that can be a bell cow, and it's something they can lean on during games that can't really stretch the ball down the field, and also in the playoffs, man, in that freezing, blizzard, cold Buffalo weather, right? You're gonna need a run game to really just take the pressure off the defense, off the offense. And I think Bijan Robinson, due to his skill set, I think he's generational in my opinion, man. I think he's up there with Ezekiel Elliott and Saquon Barkley entering this year's draft, right? So I think if you can, implement someone like him to your offense, Sean McDermott, and Ken Dorsey, they'll be cooking with grease. All right, picks 24 and 25. Jacksonville Jaguars select Joey Porter Jr., who I just spoke about recently, about him being possibly in the second round. But the Jaguars go Joey Porter Jr., cornerback out of Penn State. The Jaguars need to either go corner or guard with their first round pick, right? I'm not mad at Joey Porter being selected. I would like someone like Brian Branch, as you can see, is being selected by the New York Giants. But, he can easily be an outside corner to replace someone like Darius Williams in the future. I think we need to go nickel, in my opinion. I don't think Joey Porter projects well as a nickel corner. But still, if he can go out there and shows elite ability, because before all these other corners started getting named, Joey Porter Jr. was CB1 last year before a lot of these guys got going. So, I think Porter's not being talked about enough because just like, Michael Mayer, he's been talked about since his sophomore year in college. So, I think Porter Jr. can be exceptional wherever he goes. And if he's a Jaguar, I'm cool with it. At pick 25, the New York Giants select Brian Branch, safety, cornerback, nickel guy. They lost Julian Love to the Seattle Seahawks. I think this would be a great pickup for them. They already have Xavier McKinney, so this Alabama connection will be nice to see. The Dallas Cowboys at pick 26 to go Quentin Johnston. I'm not mad at this pick either, right? You already have Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb. You brought in Brandon Cooks via trade. Adding someone like Quentin Johnston, a 50-50 ball receiver that Dak Prescott's never had in his career, will be great for Mike McCarthy in his offense. They could easily go, guard or defensive end right here at this pick, but I'm not mad at them going Quentin Johnston. They could go corner as well, but if they believe wide receiver is a necessity still, because there's rumors that they could possibly still go after D-Hop, I'm not mad at them going Quentin Johnston right here at pick 26. All right, pick 27, the Buffalo Bills, of course, swap with the Minnesota Vikings. And the Vikings are on the clock, and they choose linebacker. As course, as we know, they did lose Eric Kendricks. They released him. They wanted to get younger at that position, so they go with Drew Sanders, Arkansas linebacker. Now, I do believe he's not the best linebacker in this class. He is probably the most sure tackler at the linebacker position, right? If you watch this tape at Arkansas, he was all over the field. I think he had one of the highest PFF grades when it came to securing tackles and stuff like that. But I think Trenton Simpson out of Clemson is a better linebacker going into the NFL, in my opinion, and I think he'll be a more versatile pick for the Vikings. And plus, you have someone like Brian Flores who can get the best out of any defensive player he has on part of his roster. So I think Trenton Simpson will be a better pick right here, but I'm not really mad at it. Pick 28, 29, and 30. Cincinnati Bengals go Luke Musgrave, tight end out of Oregon State. Now, this Bengals team doesn't really need much more, right? But if you ask someone like Luke Musgrave, who is tight end 3 in my opinion in this year's draft, that just opens up more opportunities for Joe Burrow to really stretch the ball down the field. You already have Chase, Higgins, right, Boyd. You bring in someone like Luke Musgrave who can be their, their fourth option offensively. You saw how, beneficial it was to have a versatile tight end like, CJ Uzomah and Hayden Hurst these last 2 seasons. Someone like Luke Musgrave, who's younger, right, probably better already in his career, just coming into the league to complement that Bengals offense would be great for Joe Burrow and company. 29, the New Orleans Saints draft defensive tackle Kalijah Cansey. I like this pickup for them as well. They need help in their interior side. They lost a lot of D tackles to the free agency market. Cam Jordan is getting older. You can really line up someone like Kalijah Cansey inside and out. I do believe he is the second best D tackle in this year's class. All right, number 30, or pick 30, the Philadelphia Eagles select Keion White, edge out of Georgia Tech. He's been getting a lot of love during this draft process. He can play, a little bit of inside and also come off the edge as well. I think he's more of a run stopper than he is a go-to pass rusher right now, but they already have great pass rushers in Joshua and Hassan Reddick. So if you can just add Keion White to that defensive line, then, they're cooking with grease as well. At pick 31, the Chiefs go Cedric Tillman, wide receiver out of Tennessee. I've already spoke about the Tennessee Volunteers and how powerful and potent the offense was last year. Hendon Hooker, Jalen Hyatt, Darnell Wright. Cedric Tillman was a huge part to their success last season, and he is going in the first round according to Lance. I'm not mad at the Chiefs going wide receiver right here. They have Kadarius Toney being possibly their wide receiver 1, but he's unproven still, man, and the jury's still out on him. They lost Juju in free agency. They have Sky Moore, who I think is going to take a big step next year, and they do have MVS still on that roster, of course, to go along with someone like Travis Kelce. But Cedric Tillman, he's a big body receiver, and they saw the success they had in someone that was a possession and big body receiver in Juju Smith-Schuster, and I think Cedric Tillman can be just essentially the same thing as that, but he's younger, and he probably is just as good coming into the NFL in comparison to Juju. So, he did have some injury concerns in college, but I think he's going to be a steal if he's available, which he probably will be available at pick 31. And to go along Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, it doesn't really matter who goes on the offense. They're all going to prevail. That was pretty fun. A lot of talking, I will say, but, I just, quick reaction about, these 31 draft selections according to Lance Zierlein, his mock of the week. I will be doing more of these close to draft day. You got Daniel Jeremiah. I'll probably wait to do his last because I trust his knowledge of the draft a lot because he's pretty accurate, majority of the time, man. So, he's plugged in pretty heavily as an NFL draft analyst. But, if you like this video, please comment down below. Like it as well. Like I said, turn on post notifications, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate y'all for watching, tapping in with me, man. Until next time, that's a wrap.